Hi everyone, this is Justine Shine. I'm here today talking about my own experience living in Buffalo, New York and the Niagara Falls area. I am a double gold Evo 200 consultant, almost platinum consultant with Archer and Evolution Travel. Thank you for joining me today. All right, so here we go. In this training, I'm going to talk about, um, the places you can go in both of these areas, places you can eat, places to stay that are good quality, just so you have some insider knowledge for working with your clientele. Now, I will say, a lot of people throughout the US know about Buffalo, New York, right? It's one of the top 5 largest cities in New York State, right? So, Buffalo, New York is literally right next door to Niagara Falls. It's actually about a 20 to 30-minute drive from the Canadian border to get to the Canadian side of the falls. So this is where I was born and raised, so I know a lot about it, and I'm super excited to share all of this with you. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so first let's just talk a little bit about Buffalo, New York. So when you talk about Buffalo, especially if you're talking to about Buffalonians, what we call ourselves, right? um, we're really talking about not just the city of Buffalo, but a greater, bigger area of New York State. So if you hear someone talking about Western New York, they're probably talking about the Buffalo area, right? So you hear a lot of people toss that term around. And the Buffalo area is composed of a lot of different areas, both city regions, more suburban regions, even some urban regions. But one thing to know about the city of Buffalo is that its locals are die-hard Buffalonians, right? We are all about all the pictures I showed here, right? So we're all about the Buffalo Sabres, we're all about the Buffalo Bills, even though those teams are not the greatest, right? If you're a sports person, you know this. But we're also all about the chicken wings, right? We have Duff's as the supposed inventor of the chicken wing, which is a big, controversy in Buffalo. um, Below down here is just a picture of the inner city of Buffalo. And then over to the right here, we have a picture of what's now called Canal Side, or the waterfront area of the city of Buffalo. And this was actually a huge renovation project that the mayor of Buffalo put forward. So it's the inner city of Buffalo is actually, in comparison to even 10 years ago, a lot safer and a lot more family friendly and a great destination to go to. Back when I was a kid, it was not that safe. It didn't look great. So they've done a lot of work to bring in more tourism type things. All right. So let's talk about Niagara Falls. All of us have heard of it, right? It's one of those natural wonders of the world. And what's really awesome is if you're staying in the Buffalo area, specifically the city of Buffalo, Niagara Falls is not that far away. You will have to go over a couple bridges to get there, but it's really only a 20 to 30-minute drive, both to the American side of the falls and the Canadian side of the falls. Of course, if you're going to the Canadian side, you're going to need a passport and you're going to need to go through customs and a couple of those things, just like if you were traveling internationally. So with that in mind, some fun things to do in Niagara Falls, there's a lot of hiking, a lot of shopping opportunities, sightseeing, and eating, okay? So now we're going to go back to some specific things with Buffalo, New York. Here are some really great things to do that are pretty popular among tourists and the locals, right? So the Buffalo Zoo is great. They have a lot of children's programs. The summertime is a really, really great place to go visit the zoo, obviously, weather-wise, right? Second, we have, attending concerts or sporting events at KeyBank Center. KeyBank Center is where the Buffalo Sabres play their home games. So it is a very big space that hosts major events for major artists. Elton John has performed there. So big name people do go there, and you can actually book these events on golden tickets, which is really awesome, right? So if you have clients going to Buffalo, definitely give them your golden tickets link so they can book some events themselves, right? Thirdly, we have the Buffalo Botanical Gardens. Honestly, I've been to other botanical gardens, and this one is absolutely gorgeous. All right, seasonally, they deck it out in all kinds of decorations. Christmas time is absolutely beautiful. And actually, let's see. If I click on the link, we might be able to see some of their Christmas exhibit stuff. Let's see. Well, maybe not, of course, right? But you can see they do have some seasonal events going on. And I will say, the Buffalo area is a great long weekend vacation. So if you have a client wanting to just get away somewhere simple, not too crazy, Buffalo is a great area with a lot of diverse things to do. And this would be a great Christmas time place for them to go, especially with their children as well. Okay. Let's see. Next, we have Canal Sign. So that was that waterfront project I mentioned. There are quite a few family-friendly things to do in that area, and they host local events during the year. So I included all of these links for you guys so that you can not book with them, but check out all of the information and everything that they can offer, because we can't fit everything into one training, right? So next to that, we have the Buffalo Museum of Science. Again, a family-friendly place to go to. They have a lot of great exhibits there that do change throughout the year. Next, we have one of my favorites and kind of a unique thing to do is the Buffalo Pedal Tours. And they have both family-friendly and adult-only type things. So the pedal tours are a tour of the inner city of Buffalo on, I don't know, how do you describe it? It's kind of like one of those smaller tour bus things, but you're literally pedaling as like the engine of the bus, so to speak, I guess you could call it. They have alcohol versions, they have beer tour versions, they have just family type versions. So it's a lot of fun. It's a really cool thing. Next, we have the Buffalo and Erie County Naval and Military Park that actually is kind of right next door to the waterfront, the canal side of Buffalo. You can pay for tickets to go to these naval and military type ships that were used at one point in the war, which is really, really cool. You get to go inside the ships. You can tour all the pieces and parts of it and spend a lot of time in there, which is awesome. In that same area, there are some like strip mall type places, plenty of places to eat and things to do. Again, that's something I would recommend doing during the spring, fall, or summer months, just because of weather situation. I believe they even have the Naval Military Park closed during the winter because of the weather. Next, we have the Theodore Roosevelt Inaugural National Historic Site. This is really, really cool, right? It can be booked on Viator. So it's one of the only thing with Buffalo is that not a lot of these activities can be booked on Viator, but this one can. So if you have someone interested in these first few activities here that require a ticket purchase, just remember, you could still book it for them and just charge them a small service fee because of doing the research and booking it for them. Okay. Let's see. And then lastly, we have the Albright Knox Art Gallery. It's just as it says, it's an art gallery and art museum. So, if you have people that like that kind of stuff, you can send them there. One thing I did try to do on this page was give you a good variety of some of the best activities for the Buffalo area. Right. This is not all of them, right? Just some of them. All right, let's keep going. So we have some great places to eat, right? So of course we have to have Duff's Famous Wings on there because that's the supposed place of the invention of the chicken wing. They have an entire huge, like bigger than my face, twice the size of my face menu of level of hot sauces for the wings, different types of wings. It's a really great place to go. Anchor Bar is the competitive version of Duff's. They do have a full menu, not just with chicken wings, right? The Chocolate Bar is right in the inner city of Buffalo, New York, and they are very unique in the sense of they have an entire menu, spiral notebook menu of chocolate martinis, which is their really good selling point. for tourists coming to see them. Right, they're currently being remodeled, but they'll be reopening in the spring of this coming year. The rest of these restaurants are kind of dispersed throughout the Buffalo area. Some of them are right within the city of Buffalo. Let's keep going. All right, and then here are some of what I consider to be better places to stay in Buffalo, New York. There are a lot of not so great hotels. So I tried to give you somewhat of a good variety of 3-star, 4-star places. So with these in mind, again, they are going to be kind of dispersed in the greater Buffalo area, not necessarily right in the city of Buffalo. So, keeping that in mind, just make sure it's in a good location for what your client wants to do. All right. And lastly, I include the Radisson Hotel, Niagara Falls, Grand Island. Grand Island is actually where I was born and raised, grew up. It's about 15 minutes from the inner city of Buffalo. And this hotel is kind of a spooky place, all right? It's known for having ghost activity. Back in, I believe it was either, I always forget, the 17 or 1800s, there actually used to be a home on the property of this hotel. And the story goes that one day that house burned down and the daughter of the family was in the house, unfortunately, when it burned down. And now she kind of gravitated towards that property. And since the hotel was built on it, on the property, she takes over the 3rd floor, but also at late night, she makes appearances on the ground floor of the hotel, right? I don't know if you believe in ghosts, but I've experienced things. I've stayed there quite a few times, hung out around there at night, and it's a little creepy. So if you have people that like that kind of thing, it's just a fun, unique thing to go and do, right? And I believe they're still doing this. You can actually request to stay on the 3rd floor of the hotel to have that, ghost-like experience. So, well. All right, so now let's move on to things to do in Niagara Falls. So Niagara Falls is very diverse because you have not just the American side of the falls, but also the Canadian side of the falls. So if you're going to be staying in the Buffalo Niagara Falls region, it's a really great opportunity to do a full day trip, not just with the American side, but the Canadian side of the falls. There's a couple ways that you can access both sides of the falls. Obviously, if you're staying in the US, you can just have access to the American side of the falls. You do have to pay for parking. And Viator does have, I believe, 1 to 3 day tour packages available that you can purchase for your clients. All right. What's really cool about the Canadian side of the falls is they have what's called Clifton Hill, and this is right on the falls itself. So you can actually see the falls while you're on Clifton Hill. And Clifton Hill has a lot of fun activities for both families and just adults. They have a lot of restaurants. They have Ripley's Believe It or Not aquarium. They have mini golf, glow in the dark mini golf, which is cool. And a bunch of other really, really fun activities. Not to mention a whole plethora of really great hotels that look right over the Canadian side of the falls. So there is that. Second, we have the Aquarium of Niagara Falls. It's not as glamorous or huge as the Ripley's Aquarium on the Canadian side, but it does have some really great children's programs as well. Thirdly, we have Old Fort Niagara that is on the American side of the falls. They do tours throughout the day of the entire fort. They also have, oh my gosh, what is the word for it? Demonstrations of rifle guns and things like that. And as the year progresses, they do have seasonal activities and events as well. Fourthly, right, Niagara Wine Trail. Who doesn't love a little bit of wine, right? And so that is another option as well. And let's see, nextly, we have the Erie Canal Tour. This is something I've done myself. It's a really cool opportunity to experience the entire canal. You go on this boat tour and it takes you through the locks of the Erie Canal as well. So you can experience like the lifting up of the boat while the locks are closing and going down while they're opening. And it's just a really cool experience. Six, we have the Herschel Carousel Factory Museum. So right where some of the greatest carousels were ever built You can go and tour that museum and see all how they made them, all of the different ones that they made and things like that. The kids absolutely love it. I've had some of my family members bring their kids there, and it's one of their favorite things to do. Next, we have the Lewiston Art Park. This is an event center, but also they have art showings, and they're an outdoor park, right? So they have different outside concerts, events, and art showings. They even have, I believe, Shakespeare type plays that they show there throughout the year. Eighth, we have Cave of the Winds, and number 9 is May of the Mist. Both of these are associated with Niagara Falls. You can access both of these on either the American or the Canadian side of the falls. Cave of the Winds is really cool. You actually go like tour, it's hard to describe, super close to the falls, to the point where you're just like getting drenched in the mist of the falls. And then you even have May of the Mist, where if I go back, let's see, let me go back to this page. Okay, so the first one over here is the Maid of the Mist. The middle one is also the Maid of the Mist. So you're literally on a boat with a bunch of people getting within yards of the falls. It's just the coolest experience ever. And then over on the right is Cave of the Mist. Cave of the Winds. All right, so getting super close to the side of the falls and being able to experience this wonder of the world from a lot of up close different perspectives, right? There was recent news that they're doing a new tour of the falls where you literally go underneath and behind the falls. So if you look at this picture, you would literally be like right behind it and seeing it from underneath it. They used to do that before a very long time ago, so I got to experience that as a kid, and it's wild, really wild to experience. Let me go back to where I was. Let me check the chat box. We got something in there. Oh, okay. Awesome. All right, so where did I leave off? Okay, good. We're done with both of those. So number 8 and 9, again, you can book on Viator, make some commission off of that as well. I do believe that they have some tours for the Niagara Wine Trail as well. Otherwise, you will have to book these different things either directly and charge a service fee for your clients, or have them go ahead and get those tickets themselves. Okay. So some great places to eat in Niagara Falls. All of these are, again, within a certain mile radius of the actual falls on the American side. There are, let's see, 2 places, the second and the third, that are more unique. We have the Hard Rock Cafe and the Rainforest Cafe. Both of those, you can view the falls from at that restaurant. Rainforest Cafe is really cool. It's like literally going inside of a rainforest. They have all of these animals that move around and do things, and they have fun rainforest noises and things like that. So again, a really great family-friendly restaurant to go to. All right, and then just some really great places to stay. The Niagara Falls area does have a casino, right? So if you have clients who love that kind of atmosphere, or really love going to like Las Vegas type places, this is more of a calm version of Las Vegas, I suppose, right? It's right near Niagara Falls, so it's a good place for them to go around the area, experience other things, but then also have this place to come to, the resort and casino, where they can have some adult fun, right? The rest of these places are just your standard hotel. I included a luxury boutique hotel as well if you have clients that are more upscale. Okay. And I just wanted to also end with just some general things to know when booking travel for clients coming to Buffalo and Niagara Falls. So firstly, Buffalo does have their own international airport, so you can have clients fly right into that airport. I definitely recommend getting a rental car versus getting an Uber or a Lyft or a taxi, just because the majority of the places that your clients are going to go are going to be at a larger distance than an Uber, Lyft, or taxi is worth. They're probably going to end up spending the same amount of money as a rental car would cost anyway, so you might as well just do the rental car, right? Next, for best availability, I definitely recommend booking 6 months in advance. So if you have a client saying, hey, this weekend I want to go to Buffalo, you'll still find something. It might not be what they're looking for, right? Buffalo and Niagara Falls are very popular areas. Buffalo is a hotspot for conferences. Again, concerts and events. Big name people come to Buffalo, and Niagara Falls speaks for itself. It's a natural wonder of the world, right? um, but like I said, it is a great long weekend trip destination. If someone's wanting to explore both Niagara Falls and Buffalo, um, I would recommend doing a minimum of 5 days of a trip, just because you want them to get the full experience for what they're paying, right? And especially the fact that you can go to both sides of the falls as a day trip alone, right? Um, and just lastly, a really cool fact about the falls is you can actually walk across from the American side to the Canadian side. There's a whole path you can use on the Peace Bridge, and you can even, stop along the way, see both sides of the falls at the same time. Um, you must have a passport for that, obviously, right? And there is paid parking on the American side of the falls again. So travelers, when going from the American side to the Canadian side and back to the American side, regardless of driving or walking, they're going to have to go through customs, and they're going to have to pay toll to get to and from. All right. So that's something to keep in mind. I know at one point the toll was only cash. I don't know if they do a card thing anymore for the people that walk. And what's really awesome is the walk only takes about 10 minutes. It's not that bad. So really anybody could do it. All right. So that is pretty much everything I wanted to share with you guys. I hope you have been able to kind of get a better idea of what this area can offer for your clientele. What I would like to do is open the floor for some Q&A, any comments or anything like that. So again, thank you for joining, guys. I appreciate it.